Hey guys, welcome back to the MCU HQ, and this is my ranking of all 10 Eternals in the movie. Eternals. I will not be including characters like Dane Whitman, Crow, or Arishem on this list. This is just going to be a ranking of the 10 main Eternals in this movie, those being Ajak, Thena, Kingo, Makari, Druid, Fastos, Cersei, Icarus, Gilgamesh, and Thena. And instead of going bottom to top, I'm actually going to go top to bottom this time and rank them from best to worst. So without further ado, let's hop into the ranking. Alright, so first up, my absolute favorite character in this movie was Druid. He was my favorite of the Eternals. I know that's an unpopular opinion. Druid isn't a lot of people's favorites. But the reason I like Druid so much is because right off the bat, they established Druid as the guy who most just wants humans to be nice to each other. When they're at the fall of the Aztecs and they're all getting slaughtered and Ajak says they can't interfere, Druid is the one who steps up and he says, why? They're dying, we can help them, and then he goes and he helps them. And as someone who thought Druid was going to be the villain of the film, him being really the ultimate good guy was so cool. I loved it, and Barry, I don't know how to say his last name. He was great in this role. And I hope we get to see more of him. And judging by the post-credit scene in the movie, we will get to see more of him. He was absolutely delightful, and I loved him. The only thing you could nitpick is that he did hold an entire town hostage. I think they treat it like it's a good thing. I don't know if it was. And second up, we have Makari. And it's funny that these are the two characters at the top, considering it was their little relationship that was the best relationship of the film. So Makari is, of course, played by Lauren Ridloff, who is a deaf actress, and she does so good in this role. Her face acting and her physical acting makes up for her lack of dialogue, and she steals every scene she's in. She is just a delight on screen, and I love that we finally got a speedster that isn't being held back by slow-mo. We get to see him in real speed. The camera follows Makari and you see everything whiz by and you see from Makari's perspective what running is like. Off the top of my head, I can't recall a single moment of slow-mo with Makari. It was all normal speed, just seeing her whiz by. And the bit when she's punching Icarus through the rock, that was so cool. I love that. And she's another one who survived, so hopefully we'll see her again also. Alright. Third place, we have Kingo, played by Kumail Nanjiani. Kingo was the comic relief of the crew, and for the most part, it worked out well. He was actually pretty fun when he was there. He always got to say some really cool stuff. My only issue with Kingo, he would probably be the top if he was there for the third act, but instead he dipped out right at the end and he's like, nah fam, bye, I'm leaving, and then he just split and showed up at the end like he was there the whole time. Didn't sit right with me, but he was great when he was on screen. He was so fun to watch. You can tell Kumail Nanjiani had fun in the role. And he gets finger guns. His power is literally that he just shoots finger guns. I love that. He also gets a cool kill shot. Just some cool standout moments. I mean, he gets that kill shot where he has this massive blast charge up. He gets under a deviant and just blows it up. That was pretty awesome. And he's paired up with Karun, who's not on this list. But if he was, Karun would be at the very top. But yeah, like I said, the only thing keeping Kingo from the very top for me is the fact that they ruined his character at the end by having him say screw humanity and just leave. There was no payoff there, nothing. He just left the story because Nanjiani's either his schedule was busy or they're like, yeah, we can't have this many characters in the finale. Get rid of Kingo. I don't know what the reason was, but they really screwed the pooch on Kingo at the end of this movie. Right. Coming in fourth place, we have Icarus, the MCU's Superman, who even gets called Superman at one point. I wanted to put Icarus higher, I really did. As I said in my review, Icarus was cool, Icarus did cool stuff, and Icarus looked cool doing it. Everything about him was graceful, his flying, his laser eyes. He just looked so cool doing everything. Richard Madden gave a great performance. I know laser eyes have to be the funniest thing to act because you're just doing this. And Richard Madden looked awesome. And some of my favorite Icarus moments, I loved his entrance when he first comes into the movie. I loved after Ajak dies, and even though he felt he had to do it, he still feels bad about it, and he drops her body off, and he yells, and his eye beams shoot out, and he looks like he can't control it. That was awesome. The fight with him was cool. His comics accurate pose, which I didn't know was a thing because I hadn't read the comics, but now I love it now that I've seen the comparison. And his death, the way they paid off that metaphor. With Icarus flying too close to the sun, and this Icarus flies straight into the sun and dies. Some people say that because you don't actually see him melt, it doesn't count, but I'm being real with you. I kind of hope he's dead. I think it's perfect if the last we see of Icarus is him flying into the sun. I would say my one issue with Icarus is that there's some points where he just doesn't get to show emotion. I mean, a lot of the time, yeah, he gets to show emotion more than some of the other Eternals, but just at certain points you're sitting there in conversations and you're like, man, Richard Madden is a good actor. He's doing great. Writers, give him something to do. And he's also elevated a bit just because he's a compelling villain. He doesn't really have much personal stake in the story. His only thing is that his whole purpose was to help birth this Celestial. And he is so intent on following orders that he doesn't want to kill his friends, or I guess his family, doing it, but he will if he absolutely has to. And that's so compelling. That's an awesome motive, and I love that. Coming in 5th place, someone who actually has moved up quite a few spots since I first saw the movie, and that is Sprite. Sprite. Sprite is one that I am so torn on. This is why she's right in the middle, because there's things I like about Sprite, and there's things I don't like about Sprite. So she is placed 5th of 10. She's sitting in the middle. Here's my thing with Sprite. I think, having processed the movie and unpacked and digested it, Sprite's motives make the most sense. The Celestials just screwed her over, right? Why is she a little girl? Movie introduces that, they never tell us, but she's this little girl who will never age, and so she can't fall in love, she can't do all these things that she would get to do if she was a human, and she just wants to be human. That makes sense. That's a pretty cool character. Here's the issues with Sprite. She's in love with Icarus, mad in love, which, I get it, they're both 7,000 years old, but I'm watching a 15-year-old want to bang a 35-year-old. That's just uncomfortable to watch. And then it gets to the point that the only reason she betrays the Eternals is because she's in love with Icarus. Not because she believes the Eternals are in the wrong and the Celestial should be birthed. Just because that she loves Icarus and she wants to side with Icarus. And then she stabs Cersei in the back and gets rewarded for her betrayal. But I don't want to get into that. I went into that in my spoiler review. I don't want to get into that again. It'll just make me mad. So yeah, a character I'm very conflicted on. She has some things I absolutely love about her, but at the same time, she has some things I absolutely hate about her. And so she sits firmly in the middle of the list. Also, as our guy in the middle of the list, we have Fastos. Fastos was kind of cool, not gonna lie. But the issue with the characters from here down really lies with the fact that this movie had too many characters, and it leads to some being underdeveloped and arcs being rushed along and just things happening that just don't sit right with me. And I think Fastos is the best example of this. Because Fastos, in the present, he has a family, he has a husband, he has a kid, and one of the few times in the movie that I really felt something is when he had to say goodbye to his family to go fight. That was pretty rad. Brian Tyree Henry, I mean, all around the cast did great. Brian Tyree Henry really did good as Fastos, especially in the flashback in Hiroshima when he's sitting in the rubble crying because he feels that he was responsible for the bomb. Something I loved. He did this to the point that he was then done using his powers because he felt like they were a force for bad. The only other time he used them was to use magic around his house. But yeah, for the most part, he just stopped with his powers. And what I don't like is that the writing had to rush his character along because they had other stuff to get to. So he says in one line that he did this, he caused the bomb to go off, he's the reason so many people died, and one line later, he blames humans and says it's their fault and that they're not worth saving. Make up your goddamn mind, Fastos. Yeah, that was bad writing. I don't know who wrote that scene and said it made sense. Because it didn't. I did not like that. One bit. Sucked. And the other reason Fastos is so low is just because of screen time. The people who are at the top of this list, for the most part, okay, so the people at Druid and Makari, the people I have in my top two, they had less screen time than the others, but I feel like I was compelled by them while I watched them on screen. Icarus, Kingo, and Sprite were there for a lot of the movie, so they're naturally going to be higher because I learned more about it and I was with them for longer. The characters from here down are either underdeveloped or just really boring, and Fastos does unfortunately fall into that category. We don't get a lot of Fastos. He is the second to last Eternal recruited, and there's one scene with Fastos, or two scenes with Fastos, before he goes off to war. That's not enough time to get to know Fastos. I'm sorry, but it's just not, and for that, he's going to fall lower down on this list. At number 7, we have a character who suffered the same fate of not having enough screen time, and that is Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh was delightful when he was on screen. I loved that he learned how to just be this master chef. The corn beer made me laugh, no matter how disgusting it was. His powers were cool. He just makes his fist massive and then just punches you to hell. And I liked his relationship with Thena. As I said, every relationship besides Icarus and Cersei's relationship in this movie is really cool. I liked his few scenes with Thena where we see how they really do care for each other. And a few people are upset they never pursued a romantic relationship. I'm the complete opposite. I'm glad they didn't. I am someone who just enjoys seeing people as friends. It's what I loved about Katie and Shang-Chi. It's what I love about Christine and Doctor Strange. And it's what I loved about Thena and Gilgamesh, is they're just friends. They're best friends. They've been friends for like 600 years. And Gilgamesh, I think more so than any of the other Eternals, is just a good guy. He just wants to care for his friend, make sure she's fine, and just everyone, whenever Gilgamesh is around, he's making everyone happy, right? He cooked food for him, he invited them in, he let them stay, he was caring for Thena, he was holding off a bunch of deviants and trying to keep her safe when she couldn't keep herself safe. Gilgamesh was just an all-around good guy, and I want to put him higher on the list, but the fact that he had so little screen time and so little development and all we know about him is that he's a good guy, he's going lower on the list. Alright, 8, 9, and 10 are characters I did not like. So, sorry Thena fans, but Thena is at 8. Now, Thena looked pretty cool. She did some cool stuff. When she sliced Crow into a bunch of pieces, that was cool. I like that. God, though, she is the single most underdeveloped character in this film. Right? We learn immediately into the movie she has a major malfunction, and they're like, hey, we're gonna have to wipe your memories, and then she's all sad about it, and Angelina Jolie gave a great performance in that scene. She sold it. Everyone in the scene did great, but you just don't know anything about her, and so as a viewer, I didn't feel bad. I was supposed to feel bad that this person's about to lose all their memories, but I didn't. I just sat there with a face full of nachos, wondering why I was supposed to care. And then she comes into the story, and it's after the global earthquake because of the Celestial being born. She comes into the story, and she's going mad, and she's like, got this mental illness, and she's drawn something. And Gilgamesh is like, yeah, she's been like this for a while. Then she tries to attack him, stops, and they're like, hi, and then she's just kind of with him for a bit. And then Gilgamesh dies. And Gilgamesh dies because Thena was having another major malfunction, and just she couldn't step in to help save Gilgamesh because she was dealing with her own stuff. And so right then, the movie set up this great storyline that Thena, who is supposed to be the greatest warrior in Olympia, she's supposed to be the best fighter the Eternals have, has now been set up in a scenario where she is in a way responsible for the death of her best friend because she was dealing with her own mental issues to the point that she couldn't help fight. She could have done so much damage in that fight. She could have saved Gilgamesh's life. But she was not able to. And the movie went absolutely nowhere with that setup. They burn Gilgamesh and she spreads his ashes in a lake. And then that's the last we hear about. He is never mentioned again. He's never brought up to be relevant to the plot. She just then goes and fights with the Eternals and does all that and then just kills Crow. it's supposed to be as an act of revenge. It didn't feel like that. It just felt more of, yeah, bad guy, kill him. There was so much there. Thena could have been the best character in this movie. They could have done so much with her, but instead, they did absolutely nothing with her, and I will never forgive them for that. This is not an issue of too little screen time. Everything was there, and they did nothing with it. At number 9, we have the main character of the film, Cersei. Cersei is the most boring protagonist to the point that I actually forgot her name in my review. I forgot the name of the main character in my review of the movie because she's that boring. Cersei has no personality. Absolutely no personality. She has no chemistry on screen with Richard Madden, which is really funny considering two of them are friends off screen and have been for years. There's no chemistry on screen, so the heart of the film doesn't work. The main character doesn't work. I think she also has the most boring power set. What relevance does turning a bus into roses have to stopping the deviants? None is the answer, because they established that it's hard for her to turn a deviant from a deviant to a tree. So why would they send the person who has the power to change stuff if the people that she's fighting are super hard to change into stuff? Her relationship with Dane Whitman also fell flat. Cersei's relationships are the heart of the movie, and it's a flatlining heart. Nothing about Cersei worked for me, and the only reason I didn't put her at number 10 is because she's with us from the very beginning of the movie to the very end of the movie. Nothing about Cersei worked for me, and I was almost tempted to put her in last place. But the only reason that I didn't is because she's actually the developed character. They actually do stuff with her, even if that stuff sucks. Now, coming in at number 10, we have Ajak. Poor Salma Hayek was so excited to do this role, and this is how she got treated. Now, she did say she signed on for more movies, so we'll see what they end up doing with Ajak, but as it stands, Ajak was the single worst character in this movie. All of her character development was off screen, by the way, so what happens is all those years, for 6,500 years or whatever it was, she's like, nah, we ain't gonna interfere. I'm the boss. Listen to me. You don't interfere. Just go kill the deviants and I'll heal you after the fight because that's my only power and I suck. And then she does that, and then all the Eternals get pissed that they can't interfere. And she's like, fine then. Screw you. Go away. And then they all split up. And then in a flashback, they're like, and then she dies, right? After that scene, when you don't care about her at all. And then in a flashback, she gets killed by Icarus because she's like, humans aren't that bad. They're actually pretty chill. Yeah, Ajak is literally the character in this movie that gets nothing to do. She stands around, she talks to a Celestial for a bit, stands around some more, talks to a Celestial for a bit more, gets killed off screen, and then is in a flashback where she gets killed and doesn't even go down fighting because she's a joke of a character, and she just gets shanked and gets her powers sucked away immediately. And then, yeah, that's it for Ajak. Don't feel anything for the character. They don't do anything interesting with the character. She doesn't do anything. She doesn't even get a cool fight scene. They did the character, and Salma Hayek, dirty. But there you guys go. That is my ranking of all 10 Eternals. What do you think of my ranking? And what is your ranking of the Eternals? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, leave a like on this video, subscribe, click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from the M2HQ. That's going to be it. Have a great day, guys.